What does the company all do for them? How do we help them out?
Out of all places, I met an individual at church.
I know you bought your first house in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
How many houses have you been through since? If nobody ever watched another episode of this, what would be the one piece of credit advice you'd tell them to do today?
More than money, it's about empowerment. Welcome to MSI Wealth Chronicles.
So how did you get started in credit? I've heard like 100 rumors. None of them I'm not sure on.
Okay. Well, first of all, my name is Ricardo Mendiola. I'm the CEO of MSI Credit Solutions, and I have 20 plus years in the credit, world as well. So we started MSI in 2006.
Okay.
But prior to that, for 5 years, I was in collections. And basically the way we started MSI is I wanted to purchase a home in 2005, and I went to a loan officer. He was a friend of mine, and he denied me. But the only direction that he gave me was he circled my collections. That's literally it. Didn't tell me anything, didn't give me any guidance at all. Just circle my collections. So I did what, anybody would think of doing, right, is the best approach, which is paying off your collections.
Right.
But luckily, I had credit monitoring service, which, monitors your credit and credit score.
Right.
And so when I paid off a collection, which took me all month, just to, give you some insight on my story, right? It took me all month to save up and pay off this one $500 collection.
Right.
And so at the end of the month, I paid it off. And I noticed on my credit monitoring service that my scores did not increase. And so when that happened, I felt like that $500 went to waste.
That had to have been a shock the first time.
Yes. So, and of course I had no direction. I had no guidance. So automatically what I did is I stopped paying off the collections because the original plan was to pay off all my collections. I had 16 collections for about $9,000 worth of debt. And the goal was to pay off one at a time. It was going to take me a year, okay? It was going to take me a year paying one off every single month. And so anyways, once I saw that my scores didn't increase, that's it. I stopped, until I figured out what the problem was, right? Why didn't my scores not go up? If I pay off the rest of my collections and I get the same results and my scores don't go up, I'm not going to be able to buy my house. And that was the whole point of me, trying to improve my credit scores to buy my first house.
Right.
So anyways, out of all places, I met an individual at church, and we started small talking in the lobby. And he told me that he was in the credit repair industry. I had never heard about credit repair. This was 2005.
Right.
Now you hear about it, a little bit more, but back then I had never heard about it. I asked my friends if they had heard of credit repair. Never had they heard about it. So it almost sounded too good to be true,
Right.
Basically, in a nutshell, right, they dispute the negative items, and a lot of the negative items that you have on your credit report, they have the capability of coming off. So anyways, I trusted them, and the main reason why was because I met him at church. I saw him there every single Sunday. So long story short, I signed up with the services. We built a relationship because credit repair, it's a process. It's not a service, right, where you grab it from the shelves and then all of a sudden, right, after you purchase it, you have, a 700 credit score. It's a process, MSI's process, right? It takes about, 6+ months.
Right.
So anyways, throughout that process, me and him built a relationship. And one of the things that he did is he kept recruiting me to come work, in the credit repair industry.
Come on board,
Yes. So at first it was, it was a no. Internally, it was 100% no, until I saw if it actually worked. And 6 months later, scores went from the mid 500s, mid 600s. I saw that it worked. I was able to purchase my first house in 2005. Oh, so exciting! To that day, right? 2005, that was my biggest achievement. Purchasing a home. So, anyways, once I saw that it worked, and like you were saying, right, I was super excited about it. I went and interviewed with the company and interviewed. I loved everything, about the company. So I went to go work for the company, was there for a year, loved it. Coming from collections, calling the consumer, right? You could relate.
Yeah, I can relate. Collections is not a fun life.
So, calling individuals that owe debt, trying to get them to pay that debt, getting cursed at, not really helping out the consumer, right?
Right.
And now going to the other side, which is helping a consumer, improve their credit score the best, way, financially, okay?
Yeah.
And then also time-wise as well, the quickest. So anyways, I went to go work for the company, did great. I loved it. Loved everything about it. But then after being there for 1 year, I had the opportunity to open up MSI, and we opened up MSI in 2006, and here we are now, 17 years later.
That's insane. That's crazy.
Do you want to start off by telling our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Name's Jesse Hartman with MSI Credit Solutions, a business development manager. I've been in credit for almost 20 years. To tell you the truth, I really got started in credit in college. I was going to school for biorobotics. I know, you've seen I've got a million little skill sets, but I was going to school for biorobotics. I was dating a girl. We were looking to buy a house, right? Went to try to buy a house, and the loan officer that I was sent to, he literally I got denied, right? But I was in school, wasn't making a lot of money at the time, and he ended up asking him a whole lot of questions, kept bothering him about it, and he put me to work.
Really?
I'm dead serious. I was coming by every couple of days trying to figure out what was going on. He's like, "Yeah, it's probably your credit or your items." I didn't have a credit. I didn't have a credit monitoring. I didn't have any idea what I did owe, what I didn't owe, anything like that. So the first day he says, "Well, you need to find out about your credit." I walked out the door, had no clue.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Came back, bothered this poor old man.
And he hired you.
And he ended up hiring me because I came back. Well, where do I get it? So he, go get your credit report. So I went and got a credit report of my own. Came back. Well, what do I do with it? He's like, and this happened for like 2 weeks, and he finally hired me on to help him find things down because he's just sent me after all of it.
Yeah.
Might as well help his clients with the process, right? And I helped collect, their identification, their credit reports, and put all that together so he can get it through and do the loan officer thing. But that's how I got into credit, completely by accident, and started. He kept me on while I was in school, and ended up in sales. I left there to go into sales, and then stayed with that company a couple of years, and then while I was up here, I got headhunted into NRS, which is National Recovery Systems, which was a collection agency. And
fun fact for the audience, right?
Yeah.
We worked there together. We didn't even know.
We didn't even know. Yeah, we worked there together. What's funny is I was working for you almost a year, and I think it's Brandon, one of your partners I talked to, and he remembered me from NRS. And he says, "Yeah, I worked with we worked with Ricardo there." And I'm like,
huh?
"What? What do you mean?" And I was surprised. So yeah, we actually worked there not only at the same office but at the same time.
Yes.
And so that was funny. And I went from there
NRS
to First American Safe Rent, which is part of First American Title.
Okay.
Right. And I did credit and criminal history, background history in the multifamily housing industry. So I broke down credit reports. I sold credit reports and that type of thing. And then moved from there into another side of them, which is First American Payment Systems. Which is
payment processing.
Payment processing, right. So I stayed there almost 8 years, where I met Barry, who you hired on later as the HR director.
Yes.
And I'm going to be honest with you. You know what I said the first time Barry called me and said, "I have a job offer. I have an interview I want you to go to." And I said, "What kind of industry?" And he goes, "Credit repair." I'm going to be honest with you. I went, "No, thank you." Because I'd heard so many bad things.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? And he's like, "Look, go look us up. Look us up online." So I did. And ended up coming in here, and that's how I got on board here, and that's how I ended up here. And I've been here, 4 years now?
Time is fun.
4 years working on 5?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's how I got into credit. And along the way, I've been building my own personal credit up. And, like I was 30 when I bought my first house.
Nice.
Right. We paid $140,000 on it, had 2 different loans to get it. And it was a little bitty thing. It was like 1,500 square feet. That's it. My only regret is I sold it.
Yeah.
I should have kept a hold of it.
Yes.
And now I live in a almost 4,000 square foot home.
Have you ever Googled your old address, see what that home's worth now?
Oh, I sold it for 200.
The Z estimate, even though the Z estimate on Zillow is not 100% accurate, but still gives you an idea. What's it worth?
It's worth $350,000 now.
And you paid what?
I paid $140 for it. Sold it for $210.
Wow.
And it's worth $350. And I just look at that going, oh, the money I threw away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, but you still made a profit.
I did make a profit. Yep. I bought a bunch of things with it, including putting on most of the money towards the next house.
Nice. Yep.
Bossman, what all does MSI do? I mean, most of our people listening, the viewers or the listeners, tell them what does the company all do for them? How do we help them out?
Yes. So, and thank you for asking. I think that's one of the most important things, right? So, MSI Credit Solutions is a credit restoration company, and our whole goal is to help our clients improve their financial future. And the way that we go about doing that is really 2 ways: education, right? So they can make better decisions, with their finances and credit. And then number 2, what we physically do for them, what our clients pay us for, is to help them attempt to remove as many of the derogatory items that appear on their credit report. Right. And the way that we go about doing that, right, is a lot of people don't know that every negative item that appears on your credit report, there's a certain way it needs to be reporting according to federal law, right? And that's what we do. We audit the bureaus, we audit the creditors, we audit the collection agencies, and we make sure that those negative items have the right to be on our consumer's credit report. If we find an inaccuracy, okay, it typically gets deleted. And our average deletion percentage, we've been in business now for 17 years, is right above 50%. So a client comes into our program. I mean, imagine this. A client comes into our program. They have 10 negative items on their credit report. Right. Okay. We give them the education, okay, on how to manage their credit, opening up a credit, right?
Getting their credit started, building it up and getting it moving on
where to
its
have
own.
your credit cards are, how inquiries affect you, right? So they do that part, right?
Yeah.
But then that client comes to us with 10 negative items on their credit report, right? Our average is right around 50%. So imagine they finish our programs 6 months later, and now they only have 5 negative items left over out of the 10, 4 negative items left over out of the 10. Imagine now they have fewer negative items, and they, built their credit, paid their credit on time, kept their credit card balances low, kept inquiries to a minimum or none, right?
Right.
What happens to their credit scores? Their credit scores increase.
Yeah, it should skyrocket.
Exactly.
Doing something.
Yes.
Now when you say that an item doesn't belong on there, it shouldn't be on there. What kind of example could you tell them? In those scenarios.
Yes. Well, for example, there's so many scenarios I could give you. I'll give you 2, right? If a collection is older than 7 years,
right?
The law says that it shouldn't be reporting on your credit report anymore. If we find that inaccuracy and expose them of it, right, they remove it typically. Another example, right, is the law says that whatever you have on your credit report, you could ask for verification, validation to give you clarity, because whenever you look at your credit report, right, it's been sold over so many times to collection agencies, and a lot of the times on your credit report, it doesn't even tell you who the creditor is.
Right.
And you as a consumer, you might not even know, even though the creditor is on the credit report, you might have forgotten, about that creditor, about that line of credit that you had, 10 years ago, right? Yeah. So you have the right to ask for clarity, verification, validation. If they can't provide proof, validation, verification, it's considered an inaccuracy and must be removed.
So a lot of people have, like you were just saying, they sell the items over and over again.
Yep.
It may be something that's not supposed to be on their credit anymore because 4 companies ago it ran out of time, or it could be because all the numbers are on it wrong. Originally you owed them this, and they're saying they owe this.
Yep. Identity theft is another example. There's so many people out there that have identity theft, and that's growing. That area
Big
is
time.
growing. Yes. As
It's
a matter of
becoming
fact,
easier for them to do it.
yes. I mean, as a matter of fact, my credit card just got compromised twice. There was a spammer. Well, I don't know what you call these individuals, right? You would know better. But they were logging into my credit card, and they were changing my contact information, right? Phone number, email.
Yep.
So now they could hit forgot password. And when they hit forget password, right, the new password or whatever the scenario is, whatever their process is, right, would go to them, right?
Yes.
But you know what they did? I never even heard of this. They went into my credit card and changed my bank account information, and they converted my points, reward points, to cash and sent it to their bank, right?
Wow.
I didn't know. I mean, how many times do you, our listeners, viewers, how many times do you go into your credit card, portal, online service, right, and check your personal information, your phone number, and email? If
Nobody
you don't,
does.
I don't, right?
Yeah.
Do it. They did that. They did it, and then they sent me a new card, and I got my new card, and I don't know, maybe a week later, I logged in, checked my personal information with the new card, right?
Right.
And guess what? They did it again. They changed my email. They changed my phone number. This time they didn't change my bank account information and cash out my points, but they did do that. So here we are. I got a whole new card again. It's the second new card in the last 30 days, and you know how inconvenient that could be, right? I mean,
you got to go change everything.
Exactly.
You got to put, everything you got running on that
Yep.
card, you got to call and change it out.
Yep.
Doing it twice in a row would be terrible.
Yep. But speaking of that, right? Speaking of giving examples of clients that could benefit from our program, that's another example. A crime that's growing, right? Identity theft. So yeah, there's a lot of clients out there that have negative items on their credit report that are not theirs, right? So guess what? There's rights that protect you from that, right? There's individuals that there's juniors. There's juniors out
that
there
happens
where
all the time.
you have a Jose. I don't know what's a common name. John Doe, right?
Right.
Senior, John Doe, Junior, right? John Doe Senior passes away. John Doe Senior had negative items on their credit report. Somehow they appear on John Doe Jr.'s credit report. Guess what?
Yep.
Don't worry, Mr. John Doe Jr. There's rights that protect you, from stuff like that. And you have the right to ask for verification, validation. Once
Right.
they start digging, they'll see that that's not yours, Mr. John Doe Jr., and they'll remove it.
That's crazy. I actually had my ID stolen once, and it was a complete accident. I caught it. I came home early one day, picked up my mail, and I had an income tax refund in my hand.
What?
I hadn't even filed it yet.
What? It came to you at least, all right?
It came to my house.
Like
It
that.
came to my house, and they had to send it back to. They have to send it to there.
Yes.
Right? Like government's got to send everything that they do to the location that you live, right?
Yes.
So I apparently got there before they got to it. So I ended up opening it up, and luckily, the first thing that I ended up doing was closing, freezing all my accounts
Yes.
and freezing, all three bureaus. But yeah, it turned out they had filed they had gotten all my information enough to file my taxes.
Yes.
And gotten a refund check back and had lied on it. And it was like,
Wow.
I mean, I knew what I was going to be getting, and it wasn't near what they were going to be getting out of me.
Yeah.
And I spent the next 3 years having somebody audit my
3 years. Wow.
3 years of having my income
believe
tax
it.
audited. And you know what would have prevented it? I didn't have a monitoring system.
Yeah.
And they had gotten a credit card just before.
Yes.
They ended up busting the dudes a couple of years later, and the credit card that they opened in my name, they were using to test to see if all my information worked.
Yeah. And speaking of credit monitoring, right? A lot of our viewers out there a lot of our listeners might be wondering, hey, I don't have one,
Right.
Is there one that you recommend?
I would recommend SmartCredit, to be honest with you.
Okay.
They have not only do they have a wonderful. You're able to get in there, see everything in there. You can see them side by side. Like you have a Visa, you see what TransUnion, Equifax, Experian says about it. All your accounts are set up that way. They have an alert process to it. You can even put your bills in there, and you can have your bills pay, tied to your bank account.
Yes.
And it will keep up with what's being paid and make sure everything is being paid monthly.
Yes.
And if you've got something on your credit that reports that it's not being paid and it's not in your bank account, it give you an alert on that.
Yes.
I thought that was neat.
Yeah, I'm a believer, 100%, on credit monitoring. I mean, you heard my story, right? If it wouldn't have been for credit monitoring, who knows? I might have not been here today. Here we are 17 years with MSI Credit Solutions because, as I said earlier, right, when I paid off my collection, I saw that my scores didn't go up. How? Through my credit monitoring service.
Right.
And because of that, I stopped paying off collections, and that's how I came across credit repair. And then here we are 17 years ago. So as you said, yes, credit monitoring I think is important. For those that don't have credit monitoring, I strongly 100% recommend it. SmartCredit does charge you right around $29.
Yes, sir.
If you don't want to pay $29, I would recommend Credit Karma. Credit Karma, as we probably already all know, right? It's free. Unfortunately, they only give you 2 bureaus,
That's
TransUnion and
correct.
Equifax. But, heck, 2 bureaus is better than nothing. So Credit Karma, free credit monitoring service. SmartCredit, if you're wanting to get a more accurate, detailed credit monitoring, that gives you all 3 bureaus and all 3 scores.
To be honest with you, I recommend both. Have them both because Credit Karma is going to email you faster than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Now, what I would like to do, what I tell people is if you have Credit Karma, when it sends you a message going something changed, go pull a real credit report and look at what's on there. But, I mean, it works great as an early warning system.
Yep. And don't worry, we'll provide the SmartCredit link.
Yes, sir.
That way people could go there and start their journey.
So I know you bought your first house in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
How many houses have you been through since?
We have a total of 10 right now. And like to some people,
wow,
it is a lot. To others, right? They have more, right? But that's always been one of my goals. And it's funny. Before I got into the credit repair industry, listen to this, the reason why I wanted to fix my credit was what? To buy the house, right? To buy a house. But what was the why behind wanting to buy a house? What it was is a infomercial. One of my old roommates right down the street. I used to have a rental home right down the street, right here off on Coit.
Right.
And Greenbrook was the name of the street. It's literally maybe about 5 blocks up north, right here on Coit.
Right.
Anyways, I was in my room. He was in his room. My friend's name is Keith, and he called me over to his room. Come here. And it was Russ Whitney, Infomercial, a real estate guru, right?
Yeah.
And what caught our attention is, what he was saying is, you could, be rich. You could, create a fortune, from real estate. You don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have this, that. You don't have to have any experience, right? It caught our attention, and we went to the class, right? And once you go to the class, right, they try to sell you a bunch of stuff.
Sure.
But it's good. It's good, right? I mean, it's great information, right? You can't put a price on education, right? To me, you can't.
No, you can't.
And so, and not specifically on education that you could use immediately, right?
Right.
So anyways, we went. They sold us a real estate package. That right there lit the fire. That lit the fire to improve my life. Russ Whitney, Infomercial. It was probably like 2:00 in the morning, and that lit the fire to, improve my finances, to just improve as a person. And I knew that the first step was to repair my credit because watch, even though he said in the infomercial, you don't need credit, you don't need money, you don't need a degree, right? You could build wealth through real estate. I knew that it would be easier having good credit, right?
Right.
And my strategy was this, and this goes for any listener that out there that might be in my situation. A lot of individuals want to get into real estate. I would say one of the first steps, okay, and I actually saw this on a real estate Facebook group yesterday.
Right.
And there was a guy that said, hey guys, I'm in the 700s and I have $15,000 and I want to get into real estate investing. What should I do? And everybody gave a lot of different advice, but the common denominator advice was what I was about to tell you, which is buy your first house. Buy your first house. If you don't own your first home, buy your first home. Before you start investing. And so, anyways, that's the plan that I wanted to execute. I wanted to buy my first house, and to buy your first house, right? the traditional route, conventional loan, FHA, what do you need? You need credit. So that's where my story started, right? And as I said earlier, I went to my friend. He was a loan officer. He pulled my credit score. I was in the mid 500s. He circled my collections, and then the story goes on, and here we are today.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
But I mean, yes, we'll talk about real estate here a little bit later on. But back to your question, how many properties do we own? We have 10, and my strategy has been really simple. I bought my first house in 2005 after I fixed my credit.
Right.
And I lived in it for 1 year. In 2007, I bought another one.
Right.
And I did what you said you wanted to do, but you didn't do, right?
I haven't yet.
Which with your first home, right?
Right.
Your plan, the plan that you wanted to execute was keep that one and rent it out, right?
I did. That's exactly what I wanted to do.
And that's what I did. In 2007, I bought a home in Frisco, and I still have it, right? I moved into that home. I rented out my first home in Carrollton, and then I did that a couple more times. Yep. Because that's the easiest strategy. Because when you do that, when you move into your new home that you're going to purchase, right?
Right.
You could take advantage of all the programs that are out there that give you the ability to buy a home with little to no money. Because if you buy a property, as an investment property, you tell the bank, I'm not going to move into the property. This is going to be an investment property.
Right.
Now they want minimum 15% down payment. So when you move into the home, you can move into that home for little to no money.
I guess they feel that's more of a risk then, huh?
Yeah. Whenever it's an investment property, that's your secondary home.
Right.
If everything goes south in your finances, which home are you gonna give up first? Your investment property that you don't live in, or your homestead, the home that you live in, right?
Right.
You're gonna get rid of the investment property. So because it's more risk, they give you a higher interest rate. They give you, they make you pay more down payment and so on. Yes.
Now I have a question for you. When you were working at a collection agency when you paid off that collection?
Yes.
And there wasn't even anybody at the collection agency that could give you advice.
No, not at all. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that part because I've worked in collections, but now that thinking about it, I never did ask anybody, what happens, how they can avoid it or anything like that.
Yep. And that's why to this day, there's a lot of passion and excitement anytime, I personally talk to a client, because I know that this information, right, that we teach, it was never taught to us in school, in college, anywhere.
Right. I was that's actually something I talk a lot about at the buyer seminars we run, right? Is you think about it, 1995 is when Experian came around. That's the year I graduated.
I'm 96.
You're 96. Yeah. That means every rule, law, and everything that's out there right now came after 1995.
Exactly.
Well, millennials are our younger brothers and sisters. We're Gen X. Millennials are we have the same parents, boomers. So the boomers grew up on one thing, and then we and everybody else have been watching it change since 1995.
Yep.
And so there was nobody who knew how the thing worked to teach us then. And to this day, I don't know of any training classes outside of what you offer with MSI.
Exactly. It amazes me. Like even whenever and I know you can relate to this, even whenever we hire, sales consultants. Right. We've hired individuals that come from the car industry. We've hired loan officers. We've hired real estate agents. Right.
Yep.
And I've always thought whenever I'm training them, they happen to 100% know a lot about credit. Right. They were a loan officer previously, right? And no, realtors, no, car industry, finance managers, right? We've had a lot of finance managers currently and past sales consultants and know nothing about credit. It just wasn't taught anywhere.
To highlight that point, I was at a particular brokerage teaching a class. The lady who is the broker, I made a mention that that the inactivity clauses on credit cards, right? I said if you don't watch your inactivity clause, they can close your card or drop your credit limit.
Yes.
And she goes, "No, they don't." I said, "Yes, ma'am. I don't want to argue with you, but they will." She walked out the room, right? And I know exactly. We all know what she went to do. She went to walk out that door to prove me wrong. She gets in the other room. And I just keep teaching. She comes back in, sits down, and says, "Y'all need to listen to him." I didn't say anything right then because I knew she was already eating a little crow. But she came up to me afterward and she says, yeah, I have one credit card. It had a $25,000 limit on it. I haven't used it this year, and they were about to cancel it. It was all the way down to $5,000.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is a person who owns an entire building full of sales agents.
Yes.
How does the average person get a chance to know that knowledge if those people don't know?
Exactly. And that's why I'm excited about, our new podcast here, MSI Wealth Chronicles, because that's what we're going to be doing. And we have so much information, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be teaching individuals and debunk all those myths that are out there, right?
Oh, there's a ton
like the
of
example that you just gave about, inactivity and, your credit card closes and decreases your credit scores. I mean, there's so many out there, people out there think that, you should leave a 30% balance on your credit cards, right?
Yeah.
Some people think $1, some people think $5. I mean, everybody's taught different things. Parents, friends, companies where you work at. I mean, my parents, right? They told me not to get credit. That's how they programmed me. So
my mom and dad were not the rich people either, and I think my mom had a credit card. My stepfather did not, and he always ranted about no, don't spend money you don't have.
Yeah.
And man, that is the worst advice you can get.
Yeah.
In the long run, it really honestly is. So out of curiosity, I know we got this. Who are we aiming this at? Who are we aiming MSI Wealth Chronicles at? Who are the people we really want to help out?
To me, it's everybody. I mean, to me, it really, really is everybody. Even individuals that don't have credit, right? Individuals that are under the age, because that's where it starts. That's where it all begins, right? That's where all the good habits begin. You need to learn about credit because once you learn about credit, right, it's actually pretty easy,
Yes.
Once you learn the facts about it. So, even individuals that don't have credit yet, right? And then for sure, individuals that have credit, right? Because like I was saying, a lot of us are living off of the, things that we were taught, the myths that are out there.
Wives' tales.
Yep.
Old wives' tales is what my mom called them.
It is time to know the truth.
Right,
So you could leverage, the truth and leverage your credit. Because credit is powerful. I mean, this. Credit is powerful. I mean, some people think that it's just, for loans, but no. I mean, it's employment. It's your insurance. Our audience out there, some of you guys might not know that, even your vehicle insurance, auto loan insurance, right? Home insurance, they look at your credit as well. Your premium, your monthly premium, one of the equations on how much your monthly premium is going to be is your credit score. Yep.
And you don't even know that when you go get it. I mean, you go there, you give them your information. They take your information. And they come back with a price.
Yep.
Nobody's had that conversation with you that they've looked your credit over in the process.
And speaking of that, don't mean to interrupt you, but as you have all the numbers, but insurance. Mm-hmm. Insurance, I would like to look that up and maybe have it for our listeners. The next time we come around. But credit, as it relates to insurance premiums, is at its most important because insurance has went up. I mean, the homes that we have, I invested in real estate. One of the homes, it doubled. The premium doubled. Not because my credit score got worse or anything like that. Not because I made a bunch of claims. It just went up because of all the claims that the insurance companies have had, right? Specifically, like for example, here in the North Dallas area, that freeze that we had, when was it? I mean, time flies, right? 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Right around this time, I think, right?
Yeah, they're all worried about it happening again
exactly,
next week.
It's going to get cold next week. Is it next week? Yeah, next week.
Yeah, Monday it's supposed to snow, and even the governor has put out preparation moments. So. Everybody's scared of it happening again. Sorry, I've been here.
Oh no, you're good. But I think we'll be prepared this year. I think the city will be better prepared. But yeah, insurance premiums, yes, they are record highs right now, and so your credit will help you get that down as much as possible.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yep. So I'm excited. I'm excited about MSI Wealth Chronicles. I'm excited about having you. You're going to be on here,
I love it.
More
I'm
than just
enjoying
today.
it.
Yeah. I'm excited about everything that you bring, everything that you bring, all the knowledge that you bring from all the different industries that you've been in. I mean, you showed me while we've been here at MSI. I mean, you're a man of all trades, literally, literally. You know, so I'm excited that everybody's going to get to learn. You know,
from you. I appreciate that a lot, and you know, to be honest with you, it's been an amazing amount of stuff I've learned since I've come here at MSI. When I came in MSI, I knew quite a few things. Even I knew a lot of things about credit. And then taking your classes, you know, preparing, going through the training you do for all the consultants here, there wasn't a day during training that I didn't go, what?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. What? Really?
Yes.
You know, somebody who's at that time had been in credit for 15 years, and you're still just one item after another, laying them down on the table, going, no, this is something that happens, and you're like, what is it? There's just, it's so many small things, and like you said, once you know it. It's simple. It makes sense. But I thank you for letting me be part of this.
For sure, 100%. I mean, and one thing that I think is important for our listeners to know, our viewers to know as well, is that all of our data, all of our information, they're facts, right?
Yes, sir.
Whenever I was in the credit repair industry, they gave us no training. I love the company. I'm not talking bad about them, but they did not give us any training. I had to train myself. All the questions that I used to get that I didn't know the answer, right? I went and seeked the answer, and I put it in a Word document, right? Because I knew that question was going to be asked again.
Right.
And so anyways, I mean, that started building up to pages and pages and pages and pages and pages, right? I would get the information directly from the Bureau's websites. I would get it from the CFPB, from the FTC, just from, everywhere, right? And so anyways, and that's basically now our training manual, right? The must knows, right?
The must knows.
The must knows, right, is something that we, teach all of our staff here, right? And that came, if you want to know where it came from, that's where it came from.
I did not know that.
It came from the questions that I was getting, from, all my clients that I didn't know how to answer. I would go seek the answer, and write it down because I knew that question would come up again.
One of the things I've liked working with you and working for you is everything you've done, and I'm going to brag on you for a moment here, forgive me, but everything that I've ever seen you done has been able to help somebody out along the way. And that sold me a lot on coming to work for you, and it's kept me here the whole time. I mean,
awesome.
the amount of times that you have me doing free credit classes, the number of times you've done buyer seminars, going out and doing charity work. Thank you very much. I mean, it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for real. You bring a lot, to the team, to the company. I'm excited about our future. And hey, because we value so much, I mean, guess who the first guest is today?
I'm excited.
Hey, So yeah, but I'm excited. I'm excited about everything that we're gonna bring. I really hope that it helps out. I know it's gonna help out.
Right.
The listeners, not just one. Like they say, if you like with books, right? They say if you could get one thing from a book, right? I think that if you could get one big thing from each episode, right? I hope it makes an impact on people's lives, like it did for me.
That's a great idea, by the way.
Yeah.
What if you had, if nobody ever watched another episode of this, what would be the one piece of credit advice you'd tell them to do today?
One piece of start your credit. I mean, there's even a lot of wealthy individuals out there that have the means to pay cash for everything, and they think that I don't need credit, which is true, right? They really don't need it.
Right.
But there's going to come a time where you will need it, where it makes sense to use other people's money, right?
Right.
And we'll get to that a little bit later on, right? Because, we're going to have so much information about credit, finances, real estate, mortgage lending, collections, right? We're going to have different guests, from our staff here, like yourself, right? Business development manager, our operations manager. We'll have sales consultants here. We'll have, some of our partners, loan officers here, realtors, title companies, insurance companies. Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. And what do we want to do the next time we do one of these? The next episode, what are we looking to do on that one? I know today we're kind of introducing ourselves to everybody.
We're going to start all the education. I don't even know where to start, right? We're going to be able to go for a long time with this podcast because our training manual, right? We could start off with the first page, right, and talk about just so much stuff. Life after bankruptcy.
There's a month of material right there.
Credit cards, how to manage your credit cards, installment revolving. There's just so much, and I'm excited. But yeah, thank you, Jesse, for coming on the show. We're definitely going to have you, multiple times here. I know that our audience is going to definitely benefit from everything that you, all your experiences and everything that you've went through and all the knowledge, right? The book of knowledge that you are. So, but anyways, yeah, thank you, to our audience for listening, and we hope that you got something out of this today, and we look forward to helping you, get through that financial maze and debunking all those myths that are out there and reprogramming you the right way, and hopefully your life, becomes easier, in the area as it pertains to finances.